Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Higher or Lower, brought to you by oddschecker, Sporty Index and Spreadex, as we look ahead to the weekend's fixtures and see if we think the eventual results of the spread betting markets will be higher or lower than the midpoint. I'm your host, as ever, George Ellett, delighted to be joined, as ever, by Jack Wright.
Hello.
And delighted to be joined, as sometimes, by Sam Tighe.
As sometimes.
Dan Worth is ill, on holiday.
He's definitely somewhere preordained, because he booked me in for this last month. This was not a quick sort of Monday SOS message. This was done weeks ago.
Booked in flu.
Either way, it's not good enough. His commitment, his lack
The
of
rotation
commitment.
is incredible.
Always, he's just never really here.
Yeah. How are we supposed to?
But as I've said many times, or this is the second time ever, this is the dream team.
It is.
Yeah,
so the audience are happy, we're happy. So what else can we do? We have got a massive weekend of games. It's actually, I can't believe Dan isn't here for this. You're a big Norwich fan.
I am.
I'm quite a big Oxford fan.
Yeah.
On Friday night, Norwich play Oxford live on Sky.
Incredible scenes.
We quite often have the Friday night championship game as part of the running order.
No.
Dan has just neglected to leave it in.
Ruthlessly cut it out.
Which is good for me, because I don't think I'd have liked my answer to any of the questions. We were meant to be going as well on the Saturday, and it was moved to Friday night. So the move to the Friday night is both, scuppered my day trip to Norwich.
Yeah.
And what a day it's going to be. 15 degrees, it could have been glorious.
Stuff dreams are made of.
It's pints in the sun in Norwich in March.
I know. Instead, I'm going to have to go to my girlfriend's birthday.
Oh, no.
I know. Love you. She's going to love the game.
What are you doing this weekend?
Don't know.
Cool. On to...
Genuinely don't know.
The first game we're previewing then is Nottingham Forest against Manchester City. I mean, if you had told me in July that this was going to be a genuine clash between two teams vying against each other to finish higher in the league and finish in the Champions League spots. I mean, the fact is there's going to be 5 of those, so it's not actually that precarious. But it's still a battle for who can finish higher between two sides. One having an incredibly strong, good season in Forest. One kind of falling apart at the seams a little bit in Manchester City. Total goals is the market here. 3.2 is the midpoint. 3.1 to sell. 3.3 to buy. Are we going higher or lower? 3, 2, 1. Oh, we're on agreement.
How cosy.
Sam, as the guest, I'll give you the honour of going first here.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, when you get 3 in agreement, it's a huge confidence boost. It's like getting an early goal, so it feels good. I am the kind of person that does like to take the security of the third goal on the lower if it's available, but there's a little bit more to it than that, I think. I think it's about the tactical matchup. We know roughly what we're going to see, right? Forest are going to sit in, absorb and counter. City are going to be high up, possession and territory. And so you've got this dynamic is pretty clear as to what we're going to see. But Forest, like the 7-0 win feels like a very long time ago, despite the fact that it was only a month, because the goals have dried up a bit since. Maybe they just used them all up in that one game, I don't know. But like watching them against Ipswich, it was a chore. They were not great against Fulham. They didn't score against Arsenal. And I accept that they got 3 against Newcastle, but 2 were at 4-1 down in sort of garbage time, 80 minutes plus.
Garbage time.
So, so that's an Americanism.
Tell that to people buying total goal minutes.
No, it's great for that market. But I guess what I'm trying to say is my faith in Forest's attack is starting to wane ever so slightly, and it's not at the place where I thought it would be at this stage. So, adding to that, City, are they starting to clean up just a little bit at the back? That the expected goals against figures are starting to look quite good. 0.09 against Plymouth, 1.3 against Spurs, 0.7 against Liverpool, 0.5 against Newcastle, and only 1 against in the 5-1 loss to Arsenal. So that was a bit of a splurge, a bit of a finishing clinic from Kai Havertz. I suppose it happens once a year. And I do just wonder if maybe the presence of Kuzanov, the new signing, the January centre-back, has added a little bit of the old Kyle Walker sweeping up recovery motion from the back. And maybe that is a bit of a kryptonite to Elanga and to Callum Hudson-Odoi, and just keeps a lid on what could have been a really explosive Forest attack in this sort of game script and setup.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I mean, I also think it's pretty significant that 2 weeks ago we saw Arsenal travel to Forest, and the way that Forest approached that game. Obviously this season we've seen Forest games have loads of goals, which has taken me by surprise given the relatively pragmatic nature of their manager. But against Arsenal, it was very much a case where they they didn't offer a great deal going forward. We saw some of their attacking threat, especially out wide, clipped. But also Arsenal didn't create a great deal. Like the XG in that game was 0.4, 0.8. It was a game of relatively few chances. Obviously, Arsenal have been struggling from an attacking standpoint in a way that City, despite their poor form, have still been relatively free scoring. But also like City at Spurs the other day, a game that I think most people expected to go kind of mad in terms of goal-mouth action, didn't really happen. So to be getting, even if there are 3 goals in this game, still meaning we're on the right side of it, is enough for me to think that Forest will go into this trying to keep the goal line down rather than necessarily taking the game to City. And as Sam says, I think there is an element here of City maybe improving, certainly from a defensive perspective.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, to be honest. I think it's got to that point where Forest are now, actually, we're in with a real good chance here, or Nuno especially, and it's now going, we're going to play this a little bit safer. So they did so against Arsenal. Liverpool was a 1-1 draw as well, so they kind of dug in and ground that one out. I think they've got a little bit of an inferiority complex, and possibly rightly so to a certain degree, with the better sides, the elite sides in the league. And they did get beat 3-0 in the reverse fixture. They got beat 2-0 in both fixtures last season as well. So there's a bit of a trend on that. They do struggle to score against City. And I say City have looked a little bit tighter at the back. That 1-0 against Spurs, the prime example of that. And I also think Nuno did desperately try to rotate and keep his big guns fresh in that cup tie against Ipswich on Monday night, and ended up with Morgan Gibbs-White having an hour, Anderson had an hour, Chris Wood came on for half an hour, and Alanga and Callum Hudson-Odoi played the majority of that 120 minutes, if not all of it. So I think all that points towards he'd sign for a 0-0 now, and that possibly would be a good result for him. But I think City can nick it, but a low scorer. I'm happy to have 0-1, 2 and 3 goals on side.
Yeah.
It is weird, isn't it? Because we've seen Forest that they've felt so firmly ahead of the chasing pack for so long. You almost in your head, you can trick yourself into thinking that a draw would actually just be completely fine here. But they're only 4 points ahead of 6.
Yeah.
Like, it is actually, we're not at that point here where Forest can be like, a draw is totally fine here. They still need to try and win it.
But
I just
also
think that
essential
caution,
they don't lose it though.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
caution will kick in against such a team.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how they'll approach it. But we're all in agreement that this isn't a game where we should be expecting loads of goals. As we say, Spreadex is line 3.2 is the midpoint, 3.1 to sell, 3.3 to buy. Brent,
the final piece for us, the icing,
final
or
piece
the
of the
cherry
puzzle.
possibly on top of the icing, on top of the cake, is they've only conceded 10 goals at home in 13 league games. So I think, like I said, the defensive process has been excellent throughout the course of the season, the Forest. So, Not really worth saying, but
Well, no, it's always worth saying, I would say. Right, on to the next game of our preview. Brentford hosting Aston Villa.
Oh.
You get your team covered.
Yeah.
Outrageous.
Come in here.
Yeah, what's going on? First match goal is the market we're looking at here. 31.5 is the midpoint with Spreadex, 30 to sell, 33 to buy. So this is the time in which the first goal is scored. So if you're going lower here, you need a goal in the first 32 minutes. Higher, 0-0 after that amount of time has elapsed. 3, 2, 1.
Oh. Yeah. I'm surprised myself.
What?
I know. All right. Built up and up and up.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a comfortable one. It's just more of a gut shot as much as anything of how I feel the game's going to go. Absolutely every chance that Brentford want to come out, got all guns blazing here and get an early goal. And so there's been general trends over the course of the season to suggest that I think Brentford will certainly fancy it. I think given where this sits with Villa's season at the moment, obviously a brilliant win for them in Belgium midweek, but tie not over in a massive game at Villa Park coming up on the horizon, and Villa do tend to be a little bit shaky after the European fixtures. So, and probably not the sort of side that you want to play when you're possibly a little bit leggy, intense, high-pressing Brentford side at home. Yeah,
big.
All those things, with the rest behind them as well. What, 10 days or so since they last played? So, which would suggest, I think, which I've done all your rationale for you. But there we go. Top goal scorers at home as well. Brentford still in the league, but they do concede a fair amount as well. So what am I doing going higher? Obviously, their home form has dropped off. It's weird how their seasons flip-flopped from being excellent at home, winning everything, losing everything away, and then they've kind of turned that round. But a draw against Everton sort of rectified it a little bit. Since that winning run ended, they've had 6 games at home, and 4 have gone higher than this. Their average first goal time in those matches is 46 minutes. So I think that spell where they just scored in the first minute every week has definitely altered, and I just feel that there's a chance that this one, I wouldn't be surprised to see a goal in the first half, but I'm taking it's going to be at the back end of the first half. Brentford are just going to kind of get there in the end. But yeah, it's not a comfortable position to go in. I say more of a gut shot rather than a whole host of stats to back it up. So that's why I'm going higher.
A whole host of stats to back us up, I think. Really.
Is yours a gut shot?
No, not really. I mean,
No.
I can't. I sit here and we're talking about.
Have you ever had a gut shot, like a probiotic?
Yes. That's not what this is.
No. Are you a believer or are you a skeptic?
I've gone lower for a very good reason.
Fine, okay.
Look, we always talk about the same things with Villa. They always concede 3 clean sheets in the league this season. Yeah. It's a disgraceful record, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And they have a nasty habit of conceding the first shot on target, which they had grown out of, but on Tuesday conceded the first shot on target in about the 11th minute.
Yeah.
So I really can't go anywhere else with this, particularly given that Brentford games aren't exactly shy of goals generally anyway. And as you say, Villa picking themselves up between Champions League midweeks has been a bit of a chore. So, I feel pretty comfortable on the lower here. I just follow the pattern.
Great, yeah, I'm in total agreement. I think Brentford home games, as we've said, have been incredibly high scoring for the most part. We know the way that Villa approach these games. Like, pretty telling again that Villa scored after 3 minutes in midweek away in a Champions League game where, I think it would be understandable for a team as cagey in the opening exchanges of a Champions League tie away from home, where you're going to take them back to your place, but absolutely none of it. And that's the way that Villa generally approach games. So I think this is a game between two sides who will basically step out immediately and look to take the game to the other. And that should be, like half an hour is a long time, if you weren't aware. And we get another extra minute on top of that. So
that can be a long time in certain circumstances as well.
Yes. It's obviously a nasty sweat, this one, when it hits half an hour and it's still 0-0, and then you just watch the minutes eke away. But on the balance of things, lower is the way that I would play this. Wolves hosting Everton now. This is interesting.
Is it?
Yeah. 2.5 is the midpoint with spread X here. This is total goals, I should say. 2.4 to sell, 2.6 to buy.
This is nice to be on at 8 p.m. on a Saturday evening.
Is that when it is?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Like, how am I going to sleep tonight?
Against modern football. That's a banner.
Okay, right. Yeah. Is it on for your celebrating?
No, it's a banner.
The Saturday 8 p.m. kickoff slot is a joke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any correlation between kickoff times? I'm so happy Dan isn't here for this because he would be like, obviously, kickoff times and goals, and kickoff times and like the nature of a game. Do you think there's something in Saturday night under the lights? All the fans there have probably been in the pub since midday, feisty atmosphere, and compared to a midday kickoff on a Sunday.
I don't know. I think really the answer, we obviously don't have time to go into that, but the answer might be club dependent, because I feel like some clubs thrive in certain scenarios. Like Villa play really well in the dark. like late games at Villa Park, Villa tend to play really, really well in it. Arne Slot even mentioned it when Liverpool came a couple of weeks ago. They were like, well, Villa Park under the lights, they do really well. And I was
it's got to be some grounds, isn't it? Like all the old school, proper, fervent, hot atmosphere. Ellen Road, Stadium. Villa Park, Goodison Park. Sorry, where?
Kassam Stadium.
Huge.
That open end is really, it's scary.
But I always think that like more in European leagues. So like Serie A have an 11:30 kickoff on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. You think?
Well, they always stick Udinese on then, and it's always 0-0. So they know that it's going to be a low scorer. So they stick the rubbish teams on.
You hear talk about players and obviously the dietary side of things, like, oh, I'm eating pasta at like 9:30 in the morning or whatever. It's got to have some kind of impact. But
what are your thoughts on pasta at 9 a.m? I'm fine with it. Yeah, same.
Anytime. Yeah.
I love it. Pizza?
I don't eat breakfast, so any food before midday is tough for me. Literally any food.
I don't eat breakfast either.
Banana?
I don't like bananas at all. They're probably my least favourite food in the whole world.
A friend of mine overdosed on bananas. He had 13 in a day. Potassium.
What happened?
It rushed to hospital. His stomach pumped. Be careful. Don't have 13 bananas a day.
That cannot be true.
True. Well, he told me. I believed him.
He wouldn't have lied about that because it's so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Why did he, when he had 12, why did he think, you know what, let's have another?
He went, Hi.
Yeah.
I don't know. Where do you stop?
Why do you hate bananas so much?
I don't know. Why do we hate any food or like any food? It's personal taste.
Yeah, but I feel like bananas is one food that is pretty rare to hate, isn't it?
Can be mushy or bruised.
Lovely. Yeah.
Lovely mushy.
Lovely
Or
bruised.
too hard.
I don't like them green.
Right.
The browner the better. Well, no, I want them like that old kit, the Arsenal kit, kind of like just bruised yellow. Perfect.
Yeah, nice.
Beautiful. Right.
There's a segment we weren't expecting today.
Where were we? Wolves Everton. I'd even read out the market as well. Total goals 2.5 is the midpoint with spread X. Are we going higher or are we going lower? 3, 2, 1.
Oh,
Really strong on this.
are you?
I'm really strong.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were going to talk about this as long as we talked about bananas, but maybe we will.
I basically would say that at this line in any Premier League game, I'd probably be an oversman. Because generally in games, the Premier League, there are more than overs, cops more often. Overs is normally odds on.
Yeah.
We've spoken about this stat before, where last season, if you'd bet on over 2.5 goals in every single game in the Premier League last season, you'd have won on every single team apart from Everton, who are the only team you'd have lost on. But things have changed at Everton. They have one of the most attack-minded coaches in the Premier League.
These young up-and-coming lads that come through.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of him. He is a Spanish coach called David Moyes.
Oh, Moyes, I love him.
And he is doing some big things with them. Because, I know that they only drew 1-0 at Brentford last time out. But before that, we had a 2-2. We had another 2-0 against Liverpool. We had a 2-1 against Palace. A 4-0 against Leicester. A 3-2 against Spurs. There's only 2 games dating back to mid-January that haven't covered the over 2.5 line here. And, I always think, and this is especially the case, I think, in EFL football, there's often prices are based on trends of certain clubs, and understandably so, but often the market just doesn't react quick enough when things change within that club. And as hard as it is to wrap your head around it, David Moyes coming into Everton for Sean Dyche has unquestionably made them a more attack-minded team and a team whose games are seeing more goals. And yet that isn't being reflected in the prices at all. Wolves are a side again where, they concede quite a lot of goals, and I think that this is a very low line for a Premier League game, and I'm not entirely sure that it should be. So I'm going to flip it.
So I initially was thinking higher here. My gut reaction was higher, and I started to look at it with great scepticism because I just thought, what I must be missing something here. Why is this so low? And the only answer I could find, actually I got 2, because one was Beto for the first time in his whole life is overperforming his XG. Unsustainable.
Yes, correct.
But more importantly, Mateus Cunha is banned. And so I asked myself the question, is Mateus Cunha so good that he is worth effectively an entire goal on this line? I came to the conclusion that the answer is yes. So I went lower.
Yeah.
Because of Mateus Cunha's suspension.
Yeah.
That is it. That's basically it.
Yeah.
But he's also relatively handy out of possession as well, I would say. So, maybe the other end.
There's just now no one on the pitch that can score from 30 yards.
What a goal that
Oh
was
my
last
God, if
weekend.
Jesper Lindstrom puts one in from 30, I'm going to look so stupid.
James Tarkowski.
Yeah.
Yeah, again.
Jack?
You might have to double check this stat because I'm concerned I might have it wrong. But the Cunha thing is a massive thing for me. Wolves have scored 9 goals in their last 9 games, and he has been, he scored 5 of them, and you could say that one of the others was his corner that went in that Doherty kind of bundled in. So he had a large say in that. They have become a little bit tighter defensively under Vitor Pereira as well. This one's gone low in 5 of their last 7 as well. And you're right, absolutely superb under David Moyes. And I was under the same impression, going, there's lots of goals in these Everton games. So that is a worry for me. But I looked at it, and my stats have told me that 9 of the last 11 away league games for Everton have gone under, or gone lower than 2.5 goals.
Yeah, but they haven't played that often away, have they? So.
11 times.
Yeah, but then how many of those 11 were under Dyche?
Well, a few.
Yeah,
half.
So ignore that. Different team.
Still the same.
Different football team.
Still same kind of percentages under.
3 of the last 4 away have gone under this line.
That's
four presumably there is under David.
So when did Moyes come in?
Then. Villa was his first game. That was at home though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
So what was the first away game then? Brighton.
Okay, so if his first away game was Brighton, then 2 of the last 3 have come in under away from home.
We're on this one, Sam. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just saying Mateus Cunha is worth a goal on this line.
I think there's a greater chance of 0, 1 or 2 goals than 3, 4, 5.
I disagree, and that is
Well,
the beauty
that
of the
is-
game.
It is. That's why we're here.
That is why we're here. Okay, so yes, what are you looking at me for?
Because you're going to introduce the next game.
Yeah, Tottenham Bournemouth is the next one. Wow. I got a text from Sam yesterday saying 184.5. That's a high line, and I said, "Yeah, I'm really busy. Sorry."
He did. He said, "I haven't even looked at it yet." Shut up.
I was sitting here halfway through a 5-hour record of a racing preview, and I was tired. Total goal minutes, and I'm now buzzing. 184 is the midpoint with Sporting Index here. Total goal minutes. Tottenham Bournemouth 177 to sell, 192 to buy. High line. Total cumulative minutes in which goals are scored. 3, 2, 1.
It's a high line, isn't it?
It's a
High line.
High line.
High line.
It's
Take
a
us
high
away.
line. That's it.
That's it.
would be
High line.
Yeah.
High line.
Bosh. Yeah.
Any stats for us?
Too high.
It's too high. It's a massively high line. Spurs looked like on the up, but then that performance against Manchester City was pretty turgid, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
0-1. 0-1? Never said
Yeah,
that before. 1-0
0-1.
0-1.
Yeah.
1-0 to Manchester City. And the key element for me is they're playing, after we record this, Thursday night, away European fixture in Alkmaar. 2 days rest or prep, and then play this. And then, of course, they got the return leg next week. And that's their season.
Yeah.
Their season is there. So I wonder how much they're going to rotate. Obviously, they've been plagued by injuries, fitness concerns throughout the course of the season. I don't think Ange would want to really risk too much because they're going to finish mid-table. There's nothing he's going to be able to do about that from here on in. And I just feel that it's not going to be that kind of frantic end-to-end excite fest that we are potentially used to.
That's a new word.
Yeah.
Excite fest.
Excite fest.
Nice. I also don't think there's a lot from Bournemouth to justify the idea of an excite fest,
No.
as Jack would say. Recently, anyway, I know they've been thrilling this season, but they do feel like they have slowed down a bit recently. And I know this because last couple of weeks I've been betting over 2.5 in Bournemouth games, and I've not been succeeding. So
We learn that way.
I know these goals are not coming in, right?
Learning through your pocket is the best way to learn.
Yeah, I know these goals aren't coming in, and it is a small squad, and they are a very high-intensity team.
Yeah.
They don't really have that many players left, and at this stage of the season, this is the kind of team that just grinds to a bit of a halt. Recently, we've seen a bit of 1-1, a bit of 1-0, and yeah, Spurs are involved. I get it, so it could be 5-4, and you know the chances are always going to be created in the Spurs game, but then you're also backing them to be finished. So you've got like the 1-0 against United, which should have been 3-2, but it wasn't because everyone missed their chances. So I feel like I'm playing the line, and I'm playing the fixture congestion, as Jack points out, with Spurs potentially reprioritising their season here. They could rescue their season with a European trophy. They can't rescue their season by beating Bournemouth. So with the high line intact there, and it is a high line. Like sometimes I'm a bit like, well, that looks high to me, but I'm not sure. So I text George and he ignores me.
Yeah.
I didn't ignore you.
I
I acknowledged you and ignored your question.
Okay. Even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is too high.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, as I said, watching that Spurs City game, it kind of feels like Spurs have lost a little bit of that sparkle at the moment. Their games are just a bit standard.
Yeah.
Like this time last year, we were talking about the Spurs team who, like, no matter what the game state was, no matter have they had 9 men on the pitch, they were throwing men forward, they were playing a high line. It's just not the case anymore. Like, absolutely not the case. We've seen teams batter them possession-wise. We've seen them drop really deep. I guess this is a case where for Ange Postecoglou, it's probably like, well, I need to probably do something to save my job here. Like,
He's been worn down a bit.
I can't get away with just playing a high line and shipping 5 goals because we're going to do some fun stuff going forward. And again, in a similar vein to the Everton line of thinking, I don't think that's reflected in Spurs' prices, where like they're still perceived as being this basket case club. And obviously, it might, there will be a game soon involving Spurs and Postecoglou, where, as Sam says, it does go mad and they do win 6-4 or something.
Yeah.
But the chances still have to go in.
Yeah.
And it's a coin flip on that.
Yeah. I watched this reverse fixture. It ended 1-0 to Bournemouth, and Bournemouth had probably 17 brilliant chances and took one of them, and Spurs didn't really lay a glove on Bournemouth on that occasion. And I think this line has been kind of formulated based on the peak performances of Bournemouth and Tottenham games, and we're not at that peak. We're probably far away from it as we have been all season. And I did do some numbers on the Bournemouth recent games just to kind of clarify it. But 120 minutes in that 1-1 draw with Wolves, There was 2-1 against Brighton, 1-0 against Wolves. Sorry, it was 1-1 obviously in the cup, 1-0 in the league. The only one of the last 6 that has actually gone higher, and it was by like the most minute margin, was when they eased past Southampton 3-1. So 4 goals in that, and that line met at 185. So
marginal.
That's like half a point of the midpoint, let alone you wouldn't be able to play it actually on the official line. So I think all those things into the melting pot spits out lower.
Right, final game we're covering in detail. Manchester United hosting Arsenal. Arsenal, of course, fresh off that resounding 7-1 win away at PSV in midweek. We're looking at the supremacy market here. If we don't all agree on this, I'll be flabbergasted. Arsenal over Manchester United with Sporting Index. 0.7 is the midpoint. So higher here is any Arsenal win.
Yeah, but we got double chance.
Lower here is Manchester United or a draw.
Yes.
3, 2, 1. Shocked.
Feels good to hold up the higher panel for the first time today.
Oh,
I've
wow.
gone lower in everything until now.
Sellers win.
There we are.
Right, Arsenal are obviously going to win, right?
Yeah.
Cool. We are
Naps.
we are recording before
We've been stung by United on this show so many times.
Every week, I think.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
when we shouldn't have such confidence. They
hard, isn't
they
it?
play tonight against Real Sociedad. I'm assuming that whatever happens there doesn't really move the needle here. And I'm not overreacting here to Arsenal's 7 goals against PSV because they scored 7 from an XG of 2.
But you are reacting, though.
Well, what I'm more reacting to here is the fact that United, despite winning 3 of their last 6 games at home, still haven't really put together a good win. Like, one's against Ipswich in that ridiculous affair.
Yeah.
One's thanks to an offside Harry Maguire winner against Leicester in the FA Cup because of no VAR, and they beat Rangers. There's 2 days extra rest here for Arsenal. Man United can't defend corners. Arsenal probably the best team at scoring from corners in the world. All things considered, I feel like Arsenal were going to win.
It's the first time I've heard anyone call it VAR for a long time, which is nice. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I like it.
Okay.
You like VAR?
VAR.
You like VAR?
I do not like VAR,
Oh, you just like
but I appreciate what it is doing in driving people away from the Premier League and liking the EFL. Jack.
Nice. I think that result for Arsenal in the midweek was huge on the basis that they're through. So they can go strong here rather than have an eye on what happens next week. Massive game for, again, talked about Spurs season being in the European competition. The same applies for Manchester United. They've lost 7 at home. Only the bottom 4 have lost more at home than them. Their wins have come against Ipswich, Leicester, Southampton, Everton under the former manager.
Not my
Sean
Ash.
Duché.
Wouldn't have happened under the new man.
No, not this new guy.
My Ash would have them sorted out, yeah.
Indeed. A Brentford side that at that point in time were just losing every single away game, and Fulham on the opening day of the season. And Fulham, in the current league table standings, are the highest ranked side that Manchester United have beaten at home, and they're in 9th. So they've kind of got by against those the lesser lights. So I just think the way that Arsenal played also against PSV exploited the width. That's a real area they can attack Manchester United, as well as the set pieces, as well as pretty much all over the pitch. But I think they found some real nice kind of combinations and styles of play that are really going to hurt Manchester United.
Agreed. They got 3 men down each flank and into the box, and it's like they're getting runners ahead of the ball. It's like, we haven't seen this for a while actually. Proper attacking fullback play. Calafiori being a real force. Like it was actually different from Arsenal. So you're right. They do have something just outside of Gabriel from a corner, which probably still feels like their most likely route to goal anyway.
Yeah.
I think this is one of those occasions where Arsenal just can't be short enough. Like they're 4 to 5 to win the game on the fixed odds because Arsenal at Manchester United can't be like 2-1 because it just the market would react in a way that would push the price back out because models wouldn't have it that short. I just find it impossible to believe that 4 to 5 price is right.
Yeah.
Especially with United, like it's a shocker for United playing Thursday night for this game. So with Arsenal having 2 extra days rest coming into it as well, Sunday afternoon kickoff. And there's an element where what does Amorim prioritise at this stage? Is it winning a trophy in order to solidify his claims to remain the manager as it worked with Ten Hag last season in the FA Cup, or is it trying to finish as high as possible in the league? I think it's probably prioritising midweek, isn't it?
Probably, yeah.
So yeah, I really think Arsenal will win this. And I'm surprised we're getting the price that we are about them to do so.
Just out of interest, quickly,
Yeah.
United are 9 points off 10th, 9 points off a top 10 finish. What do you think? Have you looked at the market for United top 10 finish and what the odds are like? Did you know what the odds are?
No.
What do you think they should be, where they're 9 points off with about 10 to go?
10-1.
They're 3-1.
Yeah.
Like,
rubbish.
what on earth?
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
You'd be a layer, wouldn't you?
Layer.
Look at that face.
Goodness me, 3-1. I was appalled by that.
Appalled. Right, come to our naps. Before we do, there is a new customer offer. If you haven't got a SpreadX or a Sporting X account, there's a link in the show description. Click on that link and sign up for a new account, and you can find the offer there. T's and C's do apply, and losses can exceed your initial deposit when it comes to spread betting. Please do ensure you're gambling responsibly. Right, on to our naps. Jack, as the senior citizen of the group, you can have first run.
Sorry? You're going to know exactly what my nap is. You got it right last week when I said the game.
Right.
I'm going to tell you the game this week, and you're going to know.
Was that a winner last week?
Yes, it was.
Nice.
Yeah. The game's in the Championship. It's Coventry versus Stoke.
Coventry had a goal minutes.
Super mega minutes.
Yes.
Headed super mega minutes. Yeah.
And this has been a source of frustration for me because I picked it early, I backed it, it didn't work, and since then it's been absolutely flying.
I wanted to play a market that's not open as yet in the game, the massive game on Friday night.
Yeah.
Norwich City versus Oxford United. Couldn't do it, so I was frantically looking for an
Scrambling.
alternative.
Yeah.
And I just literally stole one that I know that you've talked about a lot, so I've gone with that. The stats to back it up: Stoke conceded the third highest attempts from set pieces, 164 in the Championship, behind only Watford and Plymouth. It's a lot, isn't it? Most headed attempts with 115. Coventry have had the most headed attempt with 115. Put that in context, Stoke have had 49, which are 23rd in the league. Coventry have scored 17 headed goals this season. That's the number one in the Championship. 35% of their goals have come from headers. Derby, QPR, West Brom are the next best with 9 headed goals. 10 of those 17 have come at home, and 2 in their last game against Oxford, which you weren't happy about. You certainly replied to that message.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Stoke have conceded 98 headed shots, which is the second highest in the Championship. Only 5 goals, which I think they're quite fortunate to do until they come up against the experts of headed goals. And therefore I'm going for Coventry headed super mega minutes. 35 is the midpoint. No surprise, I'm going higher.
Higher than 35, the midpoint there for Jack. Sam, what's your best bet of the weekend?
I am buying goals on Palace Ipswich.
Ooh.
Yeah, line is 2.95 when I checked, so going to bank on 3 or more there. Just one of Ipswich's last 6 Premier League games have failed to hit this mark, and it was the 1-1 draw with Villa, and the underlying numbers would suggest that that should have been more. It was the ridiculous Alex Palmer debuting goal, which was just like absolute superhero moment. So yeah, it just feels like a lot of these Ipswich games get quite out of hand. The scorelines they've had recently, 6-0, 4-1, 3-2, all in very recent memory. And Palace maybe a bit spooked by the Mateta injury, but Nketiah has got a couple. Yeah. They have Eza, they have Sarr, they have Munoz. They're picking it up at home. They can score goals. So yeah, I'm thinking that's 3+.
Nice.
No clean sheet in 9 either for Palace at home, so that's obviously good for as far as Ipswich coming to the party in that respect.
I am picking out the Norwich-Oxford game for my nap, and it's Norwich corners. Corners squared is 51 to sell, 58 to buy. I'm buying, so it's about, 53.5? 54.5. This is mainly to do with Oxford, because we concede a load of corners. And if you look at our recent, we played 3 nominally kind of good teams, and I would say that Norwich are a good team at the moment in recent weeks. We went to Burnley on Tuesday, the 4th of February. We conceded 12 corners that day, so that makes up 144.
Nice.
We went to West Bromwich Albion a couple of weekends ago. I was there. They had 13 corners, so 169 is the makeup. And then we hosted Coventry City, the aforementioned heading kings, last weekend, and we conceded 11 corners, making 121.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to, we get pretty regularly pinned away from home, especially Norwich are a team that like to keep the ball. I think the game will be played in our half, and I think especially with the likes of Borja Sainz, who we know likes to let fly from basically anywhere, I would be surprised if you weren't able to cover the 8 corners needed to get into profit, with the possibility of there being plenty more.
And you're allowed a few as well yourself.
Yeah, but I'm not, that's not part of it.
Oh, goodness
Just
me.
Norwich corners.
Just Norwich,
Just
sorry.
corners, yeah.
Oh, my God. You're really stacking against your own team here.
12, 13, 11. Well, what would be ideal is that we go ahead after a minute.
Of course it would be.
And then you know what happens. And then it is just onslaught, wave after wave after wave. And we see it out. 79 corners for Norwich, a world record. That would be the dream.
What's 79 squared?
It's a great question. My square knowledge doesn't go that high. 6,241.
It's still quick.
Yeah, well, that's a calculator.
Oh, I know. You still managed to get there.
yeah.
I'm still impressed.
Thank you.
As a senior citizen of the group.
Fastest finger first. Right, that brings this episode of Higher or Lower to a close. Thank you very much to Jack and Sam for sharing their tips, thoughts and insight. As I mentioned, there is a new customer offer with SpreadX and Sporting Index, so click on the link description and you can find it there. T's and C's do apply, 18 and over only. And do remember that losses can exceed your initial deposit. SpreadX have you covered across football and across sports. The Cheltenham Festival is, of course, next week as well. Plenty up on site there for SpreadX and Sporting Index about that. And over at oddschecker as well. Football, racing, whatever it is, have you covered for your fixed odds betting needs. Whoscored.com. As we said last weekend, no racing form for you there, but certainly plenty of football stuff to inform your selections ahead of the weekend. Enjoy it. Enjoy the massive game tomorrow night. Tomorrow night. Wow.
It's the eve.
Gosh. Yeah, it's going to be.
How will we sleep?
Norwich 3, Oxford 0 will be a cracker. I can guarantee it. But in the meantime, enjoy the football and please ensure that you're gambling responsibly.